I was coming toward the end of my timeline. Little did I know
Your
my
expiration date.
expiration date, as you would call it. Little did I know that if I didn't propose by a certain time, that my time would be up. Welcome back to the Two Stubborn to Fail podcast. I am your host, Darren Perkins.
And I'm your co-host, Teneasha Perkins.
Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. Today's episode, we have it's gonna be a real special episode. We are actually wearing our Healthy Marriage is Dope shirts. Shout out to D. Johns and his lovely wife. They have an amazing podcast called Healthy Marriage is Dope, and we definitely wanted to show our support by featuring them on this episode. Well, the shirts, of course. In spirit of a healthy marriage, I thought that we kind of shape this episode around our marriage a little bit. Of course, we have some other topics, but just to touch on our marriage because we are a married couple, and I feel as though our marriage is too stubborn to fail. So why not touch on that from time to time?
Okay.
So for the first topic, which is interesting, I know that from time to time, my wife likes to bring up that I was coming toward the end of my timeline. Little did I know
Your expiration
my
date.
expiration date, as you would call it. Little did I know that if I didn't propose by a certain time, that my time would be up. Just to give you a little bit of background on us, we've been together. How long were we together before we got married?
5 years.
Okay, so we have been together 5 years. Yeah, I know. Mr. Drag his feet. Made an NFL catch for sure. But in that time, we got to grow together and learn each other. And I just wanted to make sure that I was ready before I made that huge commitment. But we never really got to talk about that. So this is our platform. And then I'd like to get your perspective on your thoughts about leading up to that. And maybe we can talk a little bit about what would have happened had I not proposed when I did. So what were your thoughts on that whole expiration date?
Okay. Well, in dating, and especially when you're a certain age and you've been dating someone for a while, if I know that marriage was something that I wanted, and if you weren't like totally sure that, you wanted marriage, because, let's be honest, there was a time where you even said you didn't even believe in marriage, just because you had never seen anyone that had a successful marriage, that were happily married, but to that I say, just because you've never seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, you know. But during the course of us dating, I just, although everything's going great now, but I just know that I want to be a wife. And that's something I desired. So like with the expiration date, that's something that I made myself, that, kind of a note to myself that I will give him until this date. And if he doesn't propose by then I know it's time to just at this point cut my losses. We could still be friends, but as far as a relationship, I feel like once you've dated someone for 5 years, you know whether or not you want to spend the rest of your life with that person. You've gone through many seasons together, so your expiration date actually was December 31st, 2016.
And I proposed
November 25th, 2016, my birthday.
Hey, cut it close. Cut it close. But in my defense, and I think a lot of men can attest to this, is I felt as though not only did I not have a true example of a healthy marriage, I felt as though personally I wasn't ready for marriage. On the not necessarily on the basis of settling down, but more so we were in college. You're talking about
Right,
some of
right.
the
And
brokest
in
times.
all honesty, that's one of the reasons why I even allowed it to go
Right.
5 years. Because, were we not in college when we like initially met and
Right.
started dating? I would say 2 years.
Mm.
Within 2 years, you know if you want to marry someone. But because we did meet in
Mm.
college and those were some of our
The
brokest days.
brokest days.
Those are some of our brokest days. I know we did have to get ourselves positioned and situated out of that before we did move forward with, joining our lives together, forever.
Mm.
So that is one of the reasons why, I did not press the issue too hard, while we were dating. But then it's like once we did graduate and, you know, then especially once we got the house and it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get. I just made my mental note for my timeline and date. And especially when you got your full time job at the university, and it's like, okay, we both have careers now, so there really wasn't any excuse at that point.
Mm-hmm.
We both were college graduates. At that point, we had careers, so we're no longer broke. So um, it's time to shit or get off the pot.
Well, I guess I could see that. But I think not only me, but I think a lot of men, we have an idea. I wouldn't even say men. I think just as an adult, you have an idea of how you want your life to play out. You have this map in your head, and as far as marriage, if it's not on the top of your list, because for a lot of people, marriage may not even be, on their list. But for those that have it on their list, it may not be. They may feel as though it's a checklist that they need before they, make a step, because marriage is a huge commitment. Let's not sugarcoat it. You should not get married until you are ready. Now, that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to take 5, 10 years to, make that step. It's really a case by case scenario. In our case, like you said, we were together 5 years before then. Um, but I just felt as though I had some growing to do as a man. I had to again hold that mirror up that's been so um, revealing, and just grow up and realize what I had in you, and realize that I wanted to make you my wife. But the expiration date, is that something that you would recommend to any other single women?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially if there are other single women and you're in a relationship that you've been in for a while. And marriage is something that you desire. But I mean, of course, you have to look at your specific situation holistically, and see whether or not there are any particular barriers as to why you haven't gotten proposed to first. But if you can't see any barriers as to why your mate has not proposed, I absolutely recommend setting yourself that expiration date, especially if, like I said, marriage is something that you desire to have. I know that I was meant to be a wife.
Uh-huh.
So, being a girlfriend just wasn't going to cut it for me.
And I know that marriage was something that I hadn't even thought about until you. So,
Right.
you had our visions were different,
Mhm.
and I think a lot more women have marriage in their long term or short term goals, versus men. We probably have it, but it's toward the latter end, because we want to, go out there and conquer a career. We want to go out there and make sure that all our ducks are in a row, so we can be the provider that we naturally are supposed to be, as opposed to um, necessarily meeting somebody halfway and building it together. I don't think a lot of men, again, I can't speak for all men, but I don't think a lot of men want to or envision building something with someone initially. I think for the majority of men, we want to go out and conquer it ourselves and then find somebody on the back end. But there is something to having somebody there from day one who understands where you come from and appreciates, those broke days that we had. Because I know we joke a lot of times about,
sharing the large
splitting the,
Zaxby's.
back when Zaxby's had that large chicken strip plate. And we used to split that. But to be fair, that was a lot of food. There's a reason why that's not on the menu no more. They was losing money on that one, and we was getting them every week. But looking back on it, I don't regret my decision to propose when I did, because I was absolutely ready to do so. I only regret any hurt or pain that I caused you in the process.
It was like when we were dating, pretty much with every like holiday or special occasion, I'm thinking like, all right, this is gonna be the time. And it's like I get myself a little amped up thinking, okay. And then it's like I could get a really great gift.
Yeah, there was some good gifts in there.
But it's like
it didn't compare.
It wasn't the engagement ring, so I don't want no iPad. But then I end up loving that iPad.
And now our daughter loves the iPad. So I mean, it's all about perspective. I came around. I appreciate you being patient. But at the same time, it's also the possibility that it wouldn't have happened. And then, we're looking at a completely different scenario. Real Dope Photography is more than just dope photos. It's a celebration of your brand, beauty, and confidence at any stage of your life. Our goal is to capture the greatest moments in your life and the world around you. Visit our website at realdopephotography.com. That's realdopephotography.com. And the real is spelled REEL. Like a reel of film. Make sure you set up your free consult today. Mention the Too Stubborn to Fail podcast on your booking form in the How Did You Hear About Us section, and you can receive a 20% discount. All right, let's get back to the show.
Right.
So, it's all about choices, and shout out to the growth, that both of us had, because we both grew over that period. You aren't the woman that I grew to want to marry. You became the woman that I wanted to marry. In the beginning, neither one of us were ready for that. We were still young, in college, figuring things out. And we've come a long way, and it's easy to lose sight of that, and not realize how far we've come over that period, because we can, to be able to pay our bills with ease, and to be able to put our cars on full without even thinking about it. These are things that weren't necessarily always the case.
No, I'll put that 10 on pump 2.
Right. And even in the position that we're in right now, as far as gas, we still fill our cars up. So it's not like, those days are long gone, so it's just, I attribute that to both of us leveling up and not letting that break us, and the fact that we were able to make it through that together. It's kind of like that. I don't know if it was a test, because we weren't married, but we were together. So, it was something that we got over together. And like you said, we both were able to find full-time employment, and later on start businesses and raise the kids, and even add an addition to the family, little sugar monster. Sour Patch Kid is what we call her, baby Layla. But yeah, I'm just grateful for the growth over everything. And for the men out there who may be in a similar situation where maybe your girl is giving you an expiration date or a timeline, I just say look at it holistically. I wouldn't suggest that you speed it up, because say you do give in and marry before you're ready, you always run the risk of it not working out, So from my perspective, I would still, like I said, I don't regret my decision to take the time that I did. I only regret any hurt that I caused you in the process. So to all the single men out there, I do suggest you make sure that you're ready, because marriage is a serious commitment, and you only want to do this thing once. So make sure that who you are with is the one. You can go about that many different ways. You gotta do the counseling. You gotta make sure that
you're equally yoked.
You make sure you're equally yoked. I also suggest that you take a long, hard look at the family, because that plays a huge part in it. When you marry somebody, you're not only marrying them, you're marrying the family, you're marrying their habits, you're marrying their credit. Let's keep it all the way 100. And it's not like we had any of those issues.
Right.
But
Teneasha Boyd had good credit.
Yeah.
And Teneasha Perkins got good credit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just make sure that you don't necessarily. I guess my main message to the men on this particular topic is, you don't have to have all your ducks in a row, but just make sure you have enough in place that you are ready to start a family, because that's basically what you're doing. You're starting a family and you're beginning a life with someone. So just make sure that you're fully prepared for what that means. Did you have any last words about that topic?
Well, the main thing was, as I mentioned, when you're going into it, just make sure that you and your mate are equally yoked. Um, as Darren mentioned, although you may not have all the ducks in a row, you do want to make sure that you both have something to bring to the table other than your appetite, when you're moving forward with considering marriage.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know we talked about the kids briefly earlier, but just to circle back to the kids, it was another interesting topic that I wanted to talk about, and it was how we treat our children, specifically as it relates to their gender, because we had two boys initially, and baby girl came later, and I think for the most part, how we think and how we treat them are completely different, because traditionally, as baby boys, we tell them to man up, as opposed to whenever Layla does anything, is, are you okay? Or the fact that we have our middle child walking to school. Would we necessarily do that for Layla? Will we have her walking to school in the 9th grade? Things like that. Do you think that we are kind of perpetuating the double standard in that sense?
To some degree, yes.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Because as you mentioned, like you said, we have our middle child, Jordan, who walks to school. Will we necessarily let Layla walk to school?
I say no.
I
say no.
I know we probably wouldn't, but I'm just, I didn't even want Jordan to walk to school, but when we considered the fact that his older brother walked to school every day when he was in high school, and it wasn't even a second thought with him. So it was like, okay, why is it that we were okay with the Marion walking to school, and now we feel like we had to escort Jordan to school? And it's like, okay, your brother walked to school, then you should be able to walk to school. Yeah. And then, of course, then it should be the same for Layla. But, it just just what reality is that you just have to be extra careful with your daughters, just because there are so many predators out there.
Absolutely.
And yes, there are predators out there, that
for
can
boys
get,
too.
yeah, but female, we are more exposed than guys,
more
and
of a target.
more likely to be targeted, in that type of a situation. So
yeah, and then not only that, I think the other thing that we probably do is with the little girl, like and the fact that she's a baby, like we just show her so much more affection than we do our other children, and that for multiple reasons. But I think the most thing is that she's the baby, she's the
right,
baby
and she's a
girl.
baby,
But
yeah.
at the same time, did we didn't numb Jordan up like that.
Yeah, the boys did get numbed up when they was babies.
Okay. Okay. So maybe that's a TBD. I just thought that was something interesting that I wanted to bring up before we change lanes. Another thing that I personally wanted to touch on was it's actually interesting, and it was a point that was brought up maybe a couple years ago. You actually have a friend of yours that got off of social media because it was starting to affect her mental health and her overall feeling, her self-esteem toward herself. And I thought that was interesting when I heard that, but then I heard it over and over and over about people actually being depressed with comparing themselves to others on social media and social media depression. I did not realize that was a thing.
Right, but of course that's a new thing,
Right.
because
Social media.
20 years ago there was no social media.
Right.
You may have had like your little Yahoo chat rooms, but there was no Facebook and MySpace, that type of thing. So yeah, so that's a new thing now. But one thing that people should realize is, with social media, oftentimes, all the glitz and glamour that you're seeing that's a part of someone's life, that's only a snapshot, a snippet of their life. And oftentimes people only show the good part. Right. They don't show the bad part. And trust me, every day is not a sunshine day for everyone. So that's one thing that I'm not going to do. I'm not going to go sit here and compare myself to someone else on social media when they're only giving you a snippet of their life. And another thing is, you may just be starting out with someone and you're comparing yourself to someone who's been doing something for years. Right. So you're comparing your chapter 2 with their chapter 22, and that's just something that's just not healthy for you, especially if you are having self-esteem issues. So and in like the case with my friend, yeah, if you do feel that social media is affecting you that negatively, then it probably is best for you to take like a little break from it and just back away from it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And another thing that you did mention is they could be lying. Right. You might be comparing yourself to a facade.
To a lie. Right.
It could be, but whether it's real or whether it's fake should not matter to you, as the person watching it, because I know me, every time I see somebody who just got a big win, somebody who's doing something that I'm not able to do yet, or just enjoying life, I treat it as proof that it could happen for us. I never have had a moment where I felt, oh, I'm hating, or a moment where I'm wondering, well, why everything happening to such and such.
That's so not your nature.
No, it's not. It's just not in me. I'm a clapper. I will celebrate you before I hate on you, and that's just in my nature. And like I said, even if I don't know you, I may not necessarily celebrate you, but I'm going to use that as proof that it can happen for me, because we are all, we all put on our pants the same way, if you can do it, that means that I can do it,
right.
you know? And if anything, I may just need to reach out to you and see how you did it so I can duplicate
Right.
that.
Some people up here hating on folks they need to be taking tips from.
There you go. It is nothing wrong with reaching out. And then oftentimes, you realize that those people that are in those positions are most willing to reach
share
out.
their knowledge.
Yeah, the information
put
is
you down on the game.
Put me in, coach.
Mm-hmm.
I want to win too. But a closed mouth doesn't get fed.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
So that would be my biggest takeaway from that is just that use it as proof that it can happen for you. And if you can't do that, log off. You can always log off because nothing should be able to control you to the point of affecting your health.
Right.
Nobody either, but especially not social media. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, you don't even it may not even necessarily be real. Mm-hmm. You letting something that's fake control your life, but if it's getting that bad, mm-hmm. the last thing that you can do is log off because your mental health is everything. Right. So that's what you need to take care of first is your mental. But to get back on a lighter note, we actually want to tell the story about how we met. So stay tuned. We'll be back after these short endorsements. Built on a passion and love for art, All Things Design is here to create spaces you will love and custom designs and memories that will last a lifetime. All Things Design specializes in event design, interior design, corporate design, custom design projects, and home closet organization. And that's just to name a few. Communication is key. We're here for whatever you need. We'll help you solidify your vision and keep in constant contact until your dream is realized. All Things Design, a step above the rest. Be sure to book at allthingsdesign.org. All right, let's get back to this show. All right, welcome back to the Too Stubborn to Fail podcast. As I said before our commercial break, we never told the story about how we met. Of course, I was the best thing smoking, so that's basically what happened. I saw her at a club and we got to rapping, and that's how it happened. Okay. That's not how it happened. Did you want to start it?
Well, the way it really happened was I actually saw him a couple times on the shuttle bus. Mm-hmm. And I remember
North Loop.
North Loop. Yeah. So we both attended the University of South Carolina, and I would ride the shuttle bus to get to the parking lot to where I parked my car. And I saw him on there one day and he had his earbuds in his ear and just listening to music, whatever. And I was looking at him, I was like, darn, we got fine dudes like that go to USC. So, I told myself, I said, when I come back from winter break, if he's still here, I'm going to give him my number. And when we did come back from winter break, I saw him on the shuttle bus again. And so this time we were standing at the bus stop and there was a bee flying around. And I was like, there's a bee on you. And he's all like, whoa, we're trying to swerve, get away from the bee and all. So it's like, okay, I talked to him. So then we got on the shuttle bus and he got off on the same stop that I got off on. And I'm walking and he's like walking behind me and I'm like, I see you trying to secretly walk me to class, just flirting a little bit or whatever. And I know like in his mind, he's probably like, I'm not paying this girl no attention or whatever. So I saw him walk to his truck one day. And so I said, okay, I'm going to write my telephone number down on a little index card. I put it under the windshield wiper of his truck. And on it, it said, like, I know you don't know me, but I told him what my name is and my phone number. and I said, if you have a girlfriend, please discard this note. And I put it on his windshield wiper, and he texted me that same day.
Yeah, so I can pick up around this point. All of that was true. The second story.
Oh, but hold on. Before I even put the notes under his windshield wiper, I made a post on Facebook, and I was like, on Facebook, I just asked my Facebook friend, I'm like, am I too old to have a crush? And some guys commented on there, and it was like, no. It's like, go ahead and go for it. You never know. You might be making dude's day or whatever and all. So I'm like, okay, I've never been one to holler at a dude before. Like, I've always been the one to get hollered at. But I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to switch it up a little bit. So I actually decided to make the first move and put my telephone number under his windshield wiper on the index card.
And boy, was I relieved that wasn't a ticket. Because that's all that I can think about for that 20-yard walk off the shuttle was, damn, how did I get a ticket? What the? So I get to the car and I read the note, and then I instantly just start looking around to see if the person that wrote the note is looking at me. So no, she wasn't around at the time. But like she said, I did take her up on it. Me being single, I hit her up, and we had our first date at the house. And
Red Box and
Red
chill.
Box. Shout out to Red Box, by the way. We used to kill some Red Box before Netflix. Yeah. And yeah, we've been together ever since.
Ever since, like, inseparable. Like, we've been dating ever since. And that was January of 2011.
Yeah, we've been rocking ever since. But yeah, I just thought that'd be interesting to share that story, because we never talked about it on the podcast. But the next thing that I like to talk about is I know we've been kind of skating around it, and it's not like we're going to have a plan on the podcast, but our 10-year plan, like, what are some of the things that you would like for us to accomplish, not only together, but maybe some singular goals that you have? What do you want our life to look like in the next 10 years?
I definitely would like to have our own luxury event space. And I definitely would like to be fully retired from my 9 to 5.
Okay.
My student loans will be completely paid off.
Hey, shout out to that.
Shout out to public service loan forgiveness. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, some good things, and I definitely see us to piggyback off of that. I agree with all of that. Also being retired, but driving. Definitely an upgrade on our vehicles, even though you are driving your dream car right now, which I think is amazing that, that was her vision board car, and she's in it, and it didn't take long to do. But I want a personal chef. Okay. I really want a personal chef, like to cook all 3 square meals a day. That's high on my list. I want a personal chef.
Hello, Fresh.
Landscaper. I want to be able to have our general things on autopilot, so we are able to focus on our brand. Of course, by then, all of our children will be of age to be self-sufficient. And we can, it's not like we won't still be in their lives, but having kids that are self-sufficient is,
right. Our baby girl will be a teenager. Yeah. Can you imagine now?
I don't want to. But at the same time, I would like to be in the house and her be in her own little space, and us not have to worry about baby powder being all over the floor or her playing with something dangerous and jumping off of things. So
or putting something in her mouth.
Or that.
We won't have to be on point
right.
100% of the time.
Right. But yeah, that was my main things. It's just, of course, we have our goals as far as our business and retirement. But just being more specifically, I have to have a personal chef. That's my biggest thing. And we will. The other thing that I wanted to, I know you mentioned retirement, but what does that really look like? Because I think traditionally, are we specifically just talking about corporate America?
I'm talking about corporate America because I'm still going to have my own business. We're still going to be doing the Too Stubborn to Fail podcast. We're still going to be doing all things design. So
definitely,
we will be, doing our own businesses and just not clocking in on anyone's time clock at that point.
I agree with that holistically.
And growing our real estate portfolio.
Of course, we'll have, the money that we earn from our initial businesses we'll use, of course, put back into the business and to expand into other business ventures, of course. But definitely just wanted to touch on that to make it more tangible because, with goals, they need to live somewhere other than your head.
Right.
And, making these things public, don't get no more public than YouTube. It makes it more, tangible, more, and it holds us accountable because now it's on tape.
Right.
So we have the world to hold us accountable now. Shout out to y'all. But the last thing that I wanted to touch on today is the love language. I think that is a very important part of relationships and why they fail is not realizing or not understanding your mate's love language. And I know that there are assessments out there that you can take. I don't know of any specifically, but I know they're out there. Just Google them. I'm sure it's a bunch. But I know specifically that my wife, her love language is attention and touch.
I was gonna say that quality time, yes.
Attention and touch. Those are what you value the most. And when I see that you are getting down, but I know I need to get better at doing it before it gets to that point. But when I see that you may not be feeling the best, that's when I, apply that the most. But you also need it when you're not feeling down, just because that's your love language. You should be able to. And I found an interesting thing out on my last episode from a licensed therapist that apparently we should get about 7 hugs a day. So I'm definitely hug deficient today. So I'm gonna need to cash in on at least about 5 hugs by the end of the night.
Hey, you said you had 4 hugs earlier from Layla.
That was yesterday.
That was today.
What's today? You sure?
Yeah.
Today's Saturday, ain't it?
It is.
No, I didn't say 4. I said 2. I had 2 hugs. But anyway. What would you any tips or anything that you have to say on the love language topic? What is my love language?
You don't have one.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Wife don't know my love language.
Well, you know what?
Hey.
You know what? Your love language is physical touch.
Maybe.
Because you be trying to get... That's what you love. Yeah, you love touch. And also affirmations. That's why I tell you, I love you the most.
Yeah, I think you got that. I don't know where you got that affirmations from.
No, it's just...
But yeah, I could rock with that. Physical touch is probably my love language. But maybe we need to take some assessments to confirm that. Did you have any
And you know
last?
what? I actually think that it shifts from time to time too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe I had a different love language when I was in college versus now. So, it's just kind of like as you evolve as a person, it changes too,
I think
you know.
you've always valued touch on some in some way.
I think I'm more like the last time I did one of those tests, I want to say mine was more quality time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
said that though. I said attention and touch.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of a little bit of both. And you're right. We evolve over time. Like the person that you marry is not the same person. We coming up on 5 years. We're not the same people that we were when we said I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to assess who we are as people on a yearly basis to see where how far the goalpost is moved. Because
Mm-hmm.
what if our love language changed like completely? I know our goals have changed since then because we've accomplished everything that or most of the things that we set out to do 5 years ago. So um just seeing, you know, what we are what we were